Imagine people looking at me like, very funny. Hello people of YouTube and welcome to another video from my room here in Lima, Peru, and welcome to my very first storytime video. A couple of years ago I decided to open a storytime section on this channel and I never did, but I'm finally here and I'm super ready to share things that have happened to me in the past for entertainment purposes, and hopefully you'll be able to learn something from my experiences as well. One of the stories even involves the Chinese police. If you want to know more about it, click that subscribe button. On my previous video, I mentioned I liked animes, but what I didn't mention is that from 2010 to 2013, I was indeed a cosplayer. Before we start, if you haven't watched my previous video yet, I invite you to do so. I've put the link up there so you can click and go directly to that video. I appreciate that a lot, and now with that being said, let's just get to the video. For the ones who don't know, cosplay is when you portray a character from an anime series, a video game, a movie, and whatnot. However, cosplaying is not only about copying a character's exact look, but also their personality. That's the main difference between cosplaying and wearing a random costume on Halloween. But I guess I'll start from the beginning. I'll start by telling you guys how I got into anime in the first place. When I was a little girl, I used to hang out a lot with my older brother and also my male cousins, and that's pretty much how I got into video games and anime. I grew up watching Captain Tsubasa, Senseiya, Dragon Ball, Pokémon, of course. I also watched some shoujo animes, which are more for girls, so I remember watching Cardcaptor Sakura and Sailor Moon after school. So by the time I went to high school, I was already a super fan, and I was super lucky because my friends were also into anime and video games. We used to gather together a lot to study, but in reality we always ended up playing Mario Kart. But anyway, I didn't know what cosplay was until the very first anime and manga convention in Peru was held in the year 2008. That was literally paradise for me because I'd never seen so many anime fans together in one place. There were merchandising and food stalls, a stage where special presentations and contests were held, a room for the manga contest, and another separate room for the karaoke contest. I sang Braveheart by Megumi Hayashibara, and that song is from the anime Shaman King. After the contest, my friends and I walked around the convention center and took a bunch of photos with people dressed up as anime characters. That immediately caught my attention because I'd never seen such a thing before. And that's how I learned what cosplay was. There were lots of Naruto cosplayers, and you know how much I love Naruto, so it was definitely a win-win for me. But as much as I loved taking pictures with the cosplayers, I never imagined doing it myself because I've always considered myself a shy person. Like, I cannot handle being in the spotlight. So a year passed by, and at the beginning of 2010, oh my god, it's been 10 years already, I decided to get myself a costume, but for personal enjoyment, since I wasn't thinking of wearing it in public at any event. And that's how I got my very first cosplay. I cosplayed Haku from Naruto, which was actually a crossplay, not a cosplay, since Haku was a boy. For the ones who don't know, crossplay is when you dress up as a character from the opposite sex. But anyway, that cosplay is super special to me because Haku is one of my favorite characters from Naruto, and even though I didn't feel comfortable enough to go to an event like that, it makes it even more special the fact that it was my very first of many more to come. I remember my friend told me, if you're not attending any event, at least get some pictures to keep them as a memory. And so we went to the park near her house, and the pictures shared on the screen are the ones that my friend took that day. Cosplays are like getting a tattoo. A single one is not enough, so you have to come back for more. Unfortunately, that was still a little problematic for me because I had not yet faced the fear of being the center of attention. So that same year, at the end of 2010, my other friends from school contacted me and said, Pamela, we're attending this event as a group and we want you to be part of it. We want you to cosplay Kurumu Kurono from Rosario Plus Vampire. And I was like, what the f? I didn't even know what that anime was, so I googled it, checked some images of the character they wanted me to cosplay, and oh my god. I tried to watch the anime and I didn't even finish it because I didn't like it. And Kurumu, the character, was so not me. She's so freaking seductive and sexy and I'm just me. But you know what I did? I said yes, let's do it. By the way guys, just a simple recommendation for you. Don't you ever cosplay a character you don't like or you don't even know, because it's not gonna work. Simple as that. Believe me, that's a waste of time and money. Cosplaying is an expensive and time-consuming hobby. Plus, if you don't know the character, you're not gonna know how to get in character and pose. And the character is gonna look weird overall. The reason why I'm saying this is because I've done it and I'm 100% sure I would have saved a fair amount of money if I hadn't done it. But the reason why I said yes went beyond wearing a costume. I did it because I wanted to face my fears. It was more for personal accomplishment because I wanted my fear to go away. And the best way to do it was by cosplaying with friends. I felt it was the right time for me to do it because at that time I already knew I wanted to keep cosplaying. So I did it for the experience and for everything I was going to learn from it.
One eternity later.
So the day came and I felt a little awkward but surprisingly good. I was with my friends pretty much the whole time, so it wasn't really shocking to me, but I do remember going to the restroom alone and the otaku press approached me and asked for a picture. Yes, there is an otaku press covering these events and you're gonna recognize them by the watermarks in the photos I'll share throughout this video. This was the picture I got and you can definitely tell I was like, okay, in a super shy mode, and literally a minute later I was already surrounded by many other people taking pictures of me. That moment was crucial because that's when I understood that people were actually not taking pictures of me but the character I was cosplaying. I learned that there wasn't anything to be afraid of because those people were there to have a great time as well, and that they take pictures because they recognize your character and because they appreciate the effort you've made into putting the cosplay together and attend the event like that. So that was a very great first experience, and even though I cosplayed a character I didn't even like in the first place, I successfully overcame part of my shyness to keep doing what I enjoyed. At the beginning of next year, that is in February of 2011, another event was held and I finally felt confident enough to cosplay on my own. However, I wasn't ready to walk down the runway yet. I will talk about that in a second. I cosplayed Sarah Farum from the video game Final Fantasy XIII, and that cosplay is quite special to me as well because thanks to that I joined my cosplay group and I met very nice friends with whom I would cosplay later on. After that event, one day I was just hanging out in my room when I received a message on Facebook. It was from a very well-known cosplayer in Peru and I was surprised. That message said that she was organizing a cosplay project and so she was recruiting new members for her team. I never knew if she randomly picked the cosplayers, but I was flattered because I was still super new in the cosplay world. So she texting me asking me to join her team just made me feel that I was doing a great job. So I said yes. And that's how my next beloved character came to life. I cosplayed Lily from Vocaloid, and as you guys can tell from the pictures I'm sharing on the screen, there was a huge change. That was a super big step forward. I was super confident and I even felt comfortable enough to show skin in public, and I never do that, not even on the beach. But again, that's the character, not me. And about the cosplay project I mentioned before, we never pulled it off because it was super hard to coordinate about 15 to 20 people that were on the Fenrir team. That was the name of the team. But we got along so well that we ended up doing other smaller projects and attending many events together. Joining the team, I learned there are many ways to be involved in the costume making process. Like, I remember my very first cosplay, Haku. I paid this girl, who was hella expensive by the way, to make my costume, so there was no involvement at all. I just received the final result and that was it. I think I got scammed because she used the lowest quality materials to make it, because she obviously wanted to get more money out of it. The colors weren't accurate and I just wasn't satisfied with it at all. So after my Lily cosplay, I learned to be more involved in the process. Like, even though I needed someone to help me with the tailoring, I was the one going to the stores, making sure I got the right fabric, checking the quality, the colors, the materials, the designs, the textures, keeping track of the whole process. Plus, all the non-fabric related stuff was all me. So the accessories, the props, the weapons were all my thing. And I think that's what makes a cosplay more special, because attending the event is just enjoying the final result of weeks, months, or even years of hard work. So going to the event and seeing people taking pictures and appreciating your effort means everything to a cosplayer. So now I'm gonna explain to you how these cosplay contests work and what you can do as a cosplayer at different events. If you don't want to participate in any of the contests, you can just attend the event, enjoy yourself, and people are gonna ask for a picture of you, so prepare your poses beforehand. If you want to compete, you can do as an individual, where you're given 5 minutes to perform on stage, or as a group where you're given about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not really sure because that depends on the event organizers. I never competed as an individual. What I did was the latter because that was way more fun. So now it's time for me to share some footage from the old days. The next clip is a group performance of Pokémon. Yes, I was Misty. If you want to watch the whole performance, I'll put the link in the description box down below. The performance of the next clip is a little different because that event was held in a theater, and there was this big light cannon, which I didn't like because it only focused on a specific spot, not the whole stage. And because of that, you cannot really see me, but I am that little magician on the right side of the stage attacking from a distance. Oh my god. Finally, the competition I enjoyed the most is called the Cosplay Runway. That photo over there, it's so freaking hilarious. It looks like if I were surrounded by the paparazzi or something. But that's pretty much how it works. In this competition, cosplayers walk down the runway and show their costume to the judges and audience. I used to participate in that competition specifically because it's super quick, no need to perform, you just have to be in character, post a couple of times and walk off. I actually won once, but the event was super small with very few contestants, so the prizes weren't that big. But I won a pair of contact lenses and also a photo shoot where I got this mug with me on it. On the next clip, you'll see my favorite runway moment when I cosplayed Lux from League of Legends at a video games event.
participante número 15, Pamela Arana, del personaje Lux de League of Legends. Ahí está, fuertes aplausos. Fuertes aplausos. Ahí está.
I even screamed Demacia. That was super epic. I think it's also important to point out the pros and cons of cosplaying, because just as I lived beautiful moments during that time, I also experienced a couple of uncomfortable things here and there. So I'm gonna start off with the pros. Personally, cosplaying has helped me gain confidence, face my stage fright, meet a lot of people, friends with similar tastes, and improve my crafty skills. Cosplaying also helps manage your time better since it's a time-consuming hobby, and it definitely gives you a different perspective of an event. Now for the cons, there are actually quite a few of them. There's a high chance that you might get obsessed with cosplay. Like personally, at that time, my priorities were a mess. Everything was cosplaying to me. Like I stopped purchasing things that were perhaps more important in order to afford my costumes. Even when I was on the street and saw something, I was always thinking about how I could modify that thing and incorporate it into my costume. That was sick. Now what I'm about to tell you does not really apply to the cosplay world in general, since it's my experience as a Peruvian cosplayer. I don't really know what the situation is like in other countries, but in Peru, as time went by, cosplaying became more and more sexualized. Like I'm fine with people that cosplay sexy characters because those characters are originally sexy. But when someone takes off a few layers of a character that is not originally sexy just for attention or for money, that's just wrong. And the reason I mention this is because some people think we're all the same and that can lead to sexual harassment. In fact, I was sexually harassed. Like you can even tell on my Misty video how men were just wolf whistling, and guys, that's not flattering, that's disturbing. When somebody asks for a cosplayer's picture, the least thing they can do is to respect that cosplayer's personal space. However, some people don't understand that and they put their arms around the cosplayer's waist or shoulder, and that's just a no-no for me. One time I was cosplaying when two guys approached me and asked for a picture. So after they took the picture and I turned to say thank you, because that's what I normally used to do, one of the guys leaned, like almost jumped forward to kiss me. Thank goodness I was fast enough to turn my head, but he kissed me on the cheek anyway, and that was quite aggressive. So by the time I turned again to see who that was, the guys were gone. Like literally, they ran away. Since the Peruvian cosplay community at that time was super small, it was super easier for everybody to know each other. Like, not as friends, but we used to see familiar faces at events all the time. For that reason, there was lots of gossiping going on, like cosplayers talking behind other cosplayers' backs. Like, there was just too much drama going on that if you don't really know how to handle that, it can get quite exhausting. But the reason I stopped cosplaying wasn't really because of the cons. I mean, those obviously influenced on my decision, but the main reason was because at that time I was struggling in some aspects of my life. I was about to take an important decision for my future and I needed to be 100% focused on that. And as you guys already know, cosplaying is a time-consuming hobby, so I really needed to take a break in order to sort out my priorities, and that's what I did. In November of 2013, I wore my last costume. I cosplayed Lux from League of Legends, which is a video game I've played since the end of 2012, the beginning of 2013. Lux is indeed my favorite among all the characters I've cosplayed. To end my 3-year journey on a high note, I decided to cosplay her because I knew that would be a super big challenge for me. And it was, indeed. Literally 90% of the costume is made by me. The other 10% is the skirt and the bodysuit underneath the armor. It took me months to put that costume together, like, oh my god. Even the shoes, oh my god. I turned regular old shoes into battle boots. Now that I think about everything I went through and I look at those old pictures, I can definitely tell I was super into it, and I can even feel all the excitement and all the effort coming out of those those pictures. To be honest, when I decided to take a break, I did it with the intention of eventually coming back, but because life is constantly changing, I never had the opportunity to do so. However, the idea is still running through my head and it's never going away. And now to end this video, I will name all the characters I cosplayed during that time in chronological order. So here I have Haku from Naruto, Kurumu Kurono from Rosario Plus Vampire, Seraphim from Final Fantasy XIII, Sailor Mars from Sailor Moon, Lily from Vocaloid, Mirel from Dot Hack Legend of the Twilight, Ninon Bar from The King of Fighters Maximum Impact, Shana from Shakugan no Shana, one of my top 5 favorite costumes for sure. Like, oh my god, those wings were a pain in the. With that cosplay, my room started to look more like an atelier than a room. And because all the action in this anime happens in the city, I had to go outside as well for the photo shoot. So imagine people looking at me like very funny, but I was already super used to it, so it was funny to me as well. And the pictures came out really good. Then we have Suisei Seki from Rosen Maiden, Os Besarius from Pandora Hearts. Yes, that's a boy, and I look weird. My friend was a super fan of Pandora Hearts, so she kindly asked me to cosplay with her, and I couldn't say no, but me as a boy, it definitely doesn't work. I also cosplayed Stocking from Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, but the gender bender version, which is when you change the gender of the original character. So yes, I tried to be a boy again. But what I liked about this cosplay is the sword. I made it myself, and I even put LED lights inside because the event was at night, and believe me, it looked really good. Cosplay number 12, we have Ren from Elementarierat, 13, Misty from Pokémon, Kuroneko from Oreimo, the angel version, definitely on my top 3. It was a very elaborate costume with lots of details, and I had wings again. So because this was my second time making wings, I guess it was a little easier than the first time, but this time I included LED lights to make it more glowy. Cosplay number 15, Saria from The Legend of Zelda. At that time, I was super obsessed with Zelda, the Majora's Mask, and the Ocarina of Time. Those video games are for Nintendo 64, and as soon as I saw her, I knew I needed to cosplay her. Cosplay number 16, Kuroneko from Oreimo, the maid version. That photo shoot was shot in my living room, and I am super happy how the photos turned out. I actually wanted to cosplay more versions of her, that's why I still have the wig in my closet. Then we have Sakura Hime from Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle, definitely on my top 3 as well. I got the costume design from the art book, that's why I had to be super careful with the details because I only had one picture as a reference. This is probably the most detailed and complex costume I've had after my Lux cosplay. Like, I don't really know if you can tell, but there are over 100 bells on the edges of the dress, and to sew that is hard work. And last but not least, my Lux cosplay from League of Legends. So in total we have 18 cosplays. 18 cosplays in 3 years. That is insane. Are there more coming soon? Who knows? Okay guys, so this has been my experience as a Peruvian cosplayer. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you also have a geeky side or if you've been to these kinds of events as well. I would love to read that, and I cannot really believe this was my world for 3 years. Like, that's a lot, and it was indeed an exciting journey, and being here, being able to share with you guys all this is definitely a great way to cherish all the happy memories of that time. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Unfortunately this time you cannot follow me on Instagram because I temporarily deactivated it, but you can definitely hit that subscribe button if you want to keep hearing from me. So this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys like it, and please look forward to the next one. Bye bye!